On this episode of Fight to Fly, we are so honored to be at the amazing SoFi Stadium in Los Angeles with our high-frequency friend, the David Meltzer. David is a best-selling author, a business coach, TV personality, the CEO of Sports One Marketing, and an incredibly all-around successful entrepreneur with an amazing story. Get your notepads ready. David's going to share with us tips and lessons he learned on his own Fight to Fly. So thanks for coming on my show. Super excited to have you. I was excited to be on yours and super excited that you agreed to be on mine.
Oh, yeah. We're going to do a lot more content. When I find good people, we amplify them everywhere, including to the 65,000 fans we have.
This is amazing, though. This is just gigantic. I thought Dallas Stadium was huge. This is huge. Love it. You're so lucky to have a place here.
It is amazing. You know, I went to the national championship when they opened AT&T Park, the Dallas Stadium, and I had 50-yard line seats about at this height. And I was so excited because Ohio State was playing Oregon, and I'm a big Buckeye fan. Mm-hmm. I spent a fortune to get those two seats, even with the relationships I have. And I spent this whole night watching the TV.
Right.
And now that's $1 billion screen.
That is bananas.
Yeah. So it's so hard
clear.
Not to watch.
Yeah.
He's so good.
Yeah, it is so clear. That's amazing. Well, one of the things I noticed when I came to office hours to see you is how just amazingly put together your team is. It was like so fast paced. It seemed like chaos, but everybody knew exactly what they were doing. They knew exactly when to do it. I was just amazed. I'm very much a people watcher, and I like to watch patterns and what happens. And I was just really admiring how you have your team working. And so one of the things I want to ask you, because on the show, we want to give people tips on how they can become their highest achieving self. How do you manage your time and your team's time to achieve all the things that you do? You have TV shows, you do coaching, your content is constant. How do you schedule your time to make that work?
So I developed something called Student of the Calendar. Just so you know, time is my love language. So when people are aware of what I'm doing with time, it completely makes me fall in love with you because we share the same love, obviously. A student of the calendar is different than what people do normally. People look at their calendar. And if I gave you 3 words and asked you to look at those 3 words, it's only a matter of minutes till you forget the 3 words. And if you understand calendaring or systems or different types of to-do lists, when we look at them, it's just a matter of minutes before we forget. That's why we can look at our calendar and have a call in 10 minutes and miss the call. Mm-hmm. And I know you and I have both experienced that, not only individually, but as team members. So I teach and train Student of the Calendar, which is let's study our calendars. Let's pay attention to how we are utilizing the 24 hours of activity today, not just in its own vacuum, but in a trajectory of where we want to be or better in the future, but also by aligning the meaning, the light, the love, and the lessons of the past with these 24 hours. So we start by studying, number 1, non-negotiables. Mm-hmm. So when we're studying non-negotiables, we're paying attention to, plus giving intention, what are we going to do, say, think, feel, and believe with this activity that's non-negotiable during the day in that trajectory, goal setting of where we think we want to be or better. And so once we get the non-negotiables in there for the day, now for me, it starts with sleep, 7 hours. I don't care what goes on, that's non-negotiable. Then family, fitness, finance, faith, and studying time are all non-negotiables. I try to keep my non-negotiables every day to 10 hours. That leaves me 14 hours to do whatever the F I want. And with that 14 hours, I then divide it into activity I planned, activity I don't have planned, activity I get paid for, activity I don't get paid for. And then utilizing those categories, I then can prioritize my time effectively. And now when I do that personally, study it, I have the team, by having team captains, study. I have a Monday captain that studies every Monday for a month. Tuesday captains every Tuesday for a month. I have a next day captain that all they're doing is studying tomorrow.
Love it.
And they're looking to see the inner relativity of non-negotiables, activity paid, unpaid, planned and unplanned. And when I say that, there's subtleties of success. When you study, pay attention, and give intention, it equals so many different karma, coincidences, luck involved in there. Meaning that how many times do we not have an address and it ruins our whole day? How many times can't we find a confirmation number or have wrong information and it ruins our day? How many times do we not know where the activity we don't have planned is, so that when we have a flat tire, we immediately can move planned activity into the space without looking or asking someone or forgetting? There's so many different things that create what you saw, controlled chaos, where we do more episodes in a day than some people can do in a week. And most of the people did not go to USC film school. And it is all just a matter of time, making sure that people are where they're supposed to be, when they're supposed to be, the right equipment, the right time, the right phone numbers, the right Zoom links, all of those things. And there's even more pressure in office hours, which, by the way, is our Apple TV show for the billion of you that don't watch it and hopefully will someday. But what makes it more interesting is the pressure when you have Sadhguru or Deepak Chopra or Brett Favre or John Hennessy from, like, these people, John Taffer, right? One of your great clients. When you have these people, they don't want to wait. Damon John does not want to wait 30 minutes to hear you tell him, sorry, we are not in time.
Right.
So it is an extraordinary feat, and it makes my heart sing as I sit there in a majesty of calmness, knowing what we're doing with 30 different people moving in the same synchronized time zone.
Yeah. Well, if you haven't put together a digital planner for everyone to use, that's a good one to do, because that's amazing. And it sounds like you're really good at delegating too. I know a lot of entrepreneurs that's a good lesson is just in delegating. So
when you empower people, then the delegation becomes instant.
Yeah.
Right. And I teach values, practices, execution, and incentives. Those are the four things. If you want to delegate, as long as they know your values, your practices, your execution model, and what incentivizes them, you don't have to make a decision. They just have to justify why they made the decision.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. Time's your most valuable asset. You know, I said that before. I love that it's, you know, if you really spend it properly, everything else kind of falls into line. It's something we can't get back, so it's important we take it seriously, and I just love how you manage it. So
I love time, so it works.
I also love in your book that you talk about network currency, and I realized this too. The minute we met, like, you are really good at this. You have mastered network currency. I am a student, so I'm super excited to learn it from you. But, you know, a while back I heard someone say, I don't know who it was, every morning while I'm doing my hair and makeup, which I plan my day in 30-minute increments. So while I'm doing my hair and makeup, I listen to someone else on YouTube. And I started doing that because I heard someone say, you're the average of the 5 people around you. And I looked around me and thought, I don't want this to be my average. But then I didn't have access to people that I did want to be my average. And so I was like, I'll have access to them on YouTube. And so I went on YouTube. I listened to somebody, you, Ed Milet, Jay Shetty, somebody like that every single day. And, you know, it's really, really raised my frequency over the last couple of years of doing that. Also how I found you. How do you feel about that? How do you feel about not only network currency, which I know is important to you, but really making sure that your average around you has the right energy and the right frequency?
And those are two different things. So let's start with number one, the 5 most important or relative people. I extend that out to, I'm looking for the right people, places, things, situations, and events. So I'm very skeptical about, or filtered about, if I'm going to go beyond the 30-minute increment that you give, or I give 5-minute phone calls and 20-minute meetings, because after that I'm visiting, and I want to visit, like, do my makeup, or for me it's a stretching routine and balance routine. I'm listening to Wayne Dyer. I'm listening to Sadhguru. I'm listening to Einstein. Wow. And I'm raising my frequency. You heard me say this at our VIP dinner. My frequency is my neighborhood. That is the relationship capital. You call it the network monetization or whatever. Relationship capital to me is everything, because it's representative of the core relativity of what I'm doing, the frequency, the essence of who I am. And then that community around me, that relationship capital, is aligned with the same frequency. And I'm creating a neighborhood, better known as a community, with a very uh, focused intention, which is and this is why you and I have our own love affair now beyond time, is that I want to surround myself with the right people and the right ideas. I want to surround myself with people that are helping one another and know people that can help each other. And we've only known each other for a short amount of time, and I already have a list of things that you've helped me with and I've helped you with. And I know we're on the same frequency. And in a lifetime, which we have a lot of life left, even though you're so much younger than me, we got a lot of life yet left. But what we're going to have is this incredible neighborhood of people buying from each other and selling for each other. Buying from each, and that's already our relationship. And it creates more value as we keep building on that relationship capital. It's everything. And it's not just the 5 people. It's the ideas, the situations, the experiences, the events. Like when you walk into the stadium, it has a different frequency.
Yeah.
When you work around certain people, it has a frequency, not only in the positive, but it also allows you to identify who's interfering with your higher frequency, which is equally as important as having the people with the right frequency around you, is letting the people that don't fall away or fire them from your life.
I think that's important because I've had people tell me that, well, the 5 people around me, it's my wife, my mom, my mother-in-law, they're all negative people. Like, I can't just get rid of them. And I'm like, add more people in. It's the law of averages. So the more people. So I love that you expand that out.
And use time as your dependent variable. So look, I love my mom. Love her. 80 years old. I would not be here. If anyone watches my videos, they know I'm a mama's boy. But my mom bleeds me. So I give my mom a minimum of a minute a day every day, because a minute a day is worth an hour on a Saturday. But more importantly, I'm very, as far as intent goes, I'm not going to hang around with my mom all the time. Right. Because she's 80 and bleeds me financially, emotionally, energetically. Right. But what do? She's so relative to me. I tell her every day the 4 things that I know she wants from me. Mom, I love you. Mom, I appreciate you. Mom, I'm happy and I'm healthy. And to me, that's all she really wants to know about me. We're not friends. She doesn't like what I like. Right? And so I think people have to be pragmatic in the fact that, look, there's a spectrum of feeding and bleeding, but then it has to be relative to an access of how relative is this person. So many people like you and I, they'll let a senior high school friend of theirs that has no relativity in their life, they run into him at the grocery store, they say something to you like, oh, Mr. Professional speaker, blah, blah, blah. And then it bothers me all day. Fire them. They're not relative. I'm not going to let them bleed me. I'll let my mom bleed me, though.
Yeah. So, my company, Stella Jets, a lot of people say, I want to fly private. I want to do this. I want to do that. I want to live a higher lifestyle. They're right on the cusp. And they actually, most of them could if they really wanted to, but they still have a scarcity mindset. So there's so many people that are just like, they've achieved a really good place and they're so scared of losing it that they stop taking risk. And they still crave it. They still crave that growth and feel like they could be higher achievers, but they've hit a level of success that now they're scared to lose it. So from your point of view, because I know you've climbed high, you've fallen, you've come back, and there's that saying, you're not a millionaire until you've lost it and remade it, right? So I wanted to ask you specifically this question for those people that still crave growth, but are scared to lose how much they've earned so far. What advice would you give them?
Shift your paradigm of understanding abundance. And what I mean by that is that I can appreciate having a lot, but I also can appreciate losing a lot. And why people lose a lot, it's because of fear. And so if we focus in on what we don't want, what's missing or what we don't have or what other people think, we're going to get more of that. And we actually are living in a zero-sum game when we are afraid of losing what we have. And what happens in a zero-sum game of trade and negotiation is eventually, if all you're worried about is keeping what you have and you're not focused in on having more or adding value to more, you're going to end up with nothing. It may take a lot longer than it did for me to have nothing, but eventually applied mathematics will tell you that if you live in a zero-sum game, if you live in fear where you want to hold on to what you have, eventually you'll have nothing. And if you don't have nothing, I promise you your kids, or I guarantee you your grandkids will have nothing.
Mm-hmm.
But when you live in abundance and shift the paradigm of saying, I not only appreciate what I have, not only do I acknowledge it by giving away, spending it, having it stolen, manipulated, and cheated from me, but I have faith, there's more than enough of everything for everyone, that I live in a value add world. And that if by chance I make some decisions that are not aligned with keeping what I have today, that is actually setting me up for promoting and protecting me to make more in the future. And it's just a temporary status. That's why the average millionaire in America has gone bankrupt twice, because they live in a value add world. And so your choice is, do I want to live in a world of more than enough of everything for everyone and live to the fullest potential that I have and experience things like flying private and risk losing everything in the short term just to gain back more? Or do I want to not experience life, hold on to what I already have and allow it to dissipate, dissolve, and disappear eventually, which it's going to do? One person will always end up in the more than enough, and one will always end up with nothing. And it's not the person you think about. It's not the person who's holding on to what they have, living in scarcity. The people who have more than enough live in a world of more than enough, and they understand that they have to not only appreciate, acknowledge, but ask for more. And as long as they're learning from the experience of acknowledgement, of giving away, losing it, manipulated, cheated from you, whatever, that in the long run, whether you believe this is your only life or you are aligned with me, infinite lifetimes, do you want to live in a value add world, expanding, growing, accelerating, exponentially receiving outcomes, or do you want to dissipate, dissolve, and disappear? That's what scarcity is. And I think you have to shift the paradigm and have faith that, yes, it may happen. My bank account may go down several $1,000,000, but that just means it's going to go up twice as much. And when you have that attitude, you are not limiting yourself by the two things in life that limit us. Number one, you are only limited by your self-image. You will never overachieve your own self-image. That's why I fly private. Also, you will never overachieve the meaning you give your past. So you're looking at someone that went bankrupt, lost over $100 million, and will tell you 15 years later that the meaning I give it is protection and promotion, that I have more money, help more people, and have more fun than I ever have because I experienced and learned the lessons from living in abundance, from living in scarcity. And that paradigm shift has allowed me to mitigate my risk of losing everything in the future, but it has not limited me or my self-image or the meaning I give my bankruptcy. Most people give a bankruptcy the meaning of punishment, of scarcity. I have given it protection, promotion, and abundance, like so many others that have gone bankrupt. And that's why I'm where I am today. That's why my office, my studio, my training center is a $5.2 billion office that has a $1 billion screen.
I love that you're so transparent with your story, and you tell it. And now that I've, like I said, I consume content every day in the morning when I have time, but I've heard your story and you're the way you tell it and the, different parts of it that you tell. And I love that you're so transparent about it. But I also love storytelling. So my career was in marketing before I decided to start a private jet
company.
It still is,
by the way.
Yeah. And I'm really big on storytelling. And a lot of the business owners and entrepreneurs that I talk to, they say, oh, well, the story's not that important. It's the brand. And it's like, you don't have a brand until you have a story. So I wanted to ask you, another marketing pro and really good at branding and storytelling, how important is storytelling to your brand?
Everything.
Yeah.
Like for me in history, and I study history because it shows me human nature, and human nature never changes. And if you want to be an expert in marketing, you better understand human nature. Well, studying history and studying human nature, since the inception of time, historical time, people learn by one thing: stories. That's the only way we learn. It's lessons and stories. And I actually have a system that codifies the lessons that resonate with me, and then I have a system to apply a story, either personal, someone else's, made up, semi-made up, whatever it may be, that best illustrates stories that will resonate with other people that are at the same frequency or essence at me. Stories and lessons that indicate my skills, my knowledge, and my desire, which I think represents my essence, which then amplifies out into a community of people like you, Tia, that are at my frequency with similar skills, similar knowledge, and similar desires. And those all accumulate into a community of people that want to help each other with those skills, knowledge, and desire, and know people that can help each other with those skills, knowledge, and desire. At the core of everything I do is stories, because that's how people learn. If you want to find the light, the love, and the lessons, if you want to live in gratitude and apply forgiveness and be accountable and live inspired, in spirit, identifying what is interfering with your potential, then you got to be a storyteller. And you have to only tell the stories about the lessons that resonate with you. Don't repeat and memorize stories. Don't take down every story. Don't take down none of the stories. But when a lesson resonates with you, then apply a story to it so you can amplify it and grow your community, your network, your relationship capital, your frequency and neighborhood bigger and better with the 3 characteristics of growth, which is accumulation or aggregation, acceleration, and exponential outcomes. Can you think of 3 better attributes that you would want in your life than everything attracting what you like, exponentially growing and accelerating and happening faster? Not a chance.
Love it. I feel like I owe you now. It's been a great session. You've given us so many lessons. I have one more question.
Perfect.
Say you can sell anything. Sell me a private jet charter.
Oh, that's easy. So I always start off, number 1 lesson in selling a private jet charter is make sure you're talking to an open mind. Also remind yourself that everyone has an open mind, and especially when it comes to people who are better avatars for private jets, then we want to know that just because someone has a closed mind most of the time doesn't mean they have an open mind a closed mind all of the time. And it's easier to sell someone that has a closed mind the majority of the time if you catch them when they have an open mind, because they don't have many options. What makes you and I hard to sell is we have too many options because we have open minds most of the time. So number 1 lesson in selling a private jet is before you start trying to sell that jet, make sure you find an open mind. Once we find an open mind, it's really easy because the next component is, hey, have you ever flown private? What do you like about it? What don't you like about it? Why do I ask that? Because there's only 2 ways to provide value to people. Everyone makes this so complex. The way that we provide value to people is to give them more of what they like or take away what they don't like. And then it's our job in able to, which makes it easy in the private jet world to me, is articulate the quantitative value of what they like and what you don't like by asking questions. Hey, would it help you if I put together a jet that would save you 6 hours to get back to your daughter's graduation? Would it help you if I brought 4 other friends along that would split the cost with you? Would it help you if I gave you a dry lease that would allow you to do this? Would it help you if we coordinated it with other meetings in order to effectuate being able to do what used to take a month in 4 days? Would it help you if? And then, even more important, relative to the relationship capital and community of the like frequency in a neighborhood, which is I'm in the private jet neighborhood, is, hey, do you know anyone that can help me? I'm looking for more of your friends, Dave. I know you know Austin Eckler and John Teffer, and I know you have these guys who make billions of dollars. Do they fly private? What do they like? What don't they like? Would it help you if? And this whole value add world that we live in, that we discussed throughout the interview, just elevates itself. Solar and private jets are 2 of the easiest things for me to sell because 1, I have a credible partner in Stella Jets. 2, it's easy to get to the emotional attachment. People buy on emotion for logical reasons. And I'm really good at articulating the quantitative value of logically why we should fly private and when we should fly private, because I've lived it. And I've made a fortune from flying private in a variety of different ways, including experiential ways. And all of these things aggregate, accelerate, and compound exponentially into providing what most people limit themselves with, which is I can't afford private. Are you going to limit yourself by your self-image? No. Why don't we work through the fact of what you like, don't like? Let me help you get over even the emotional aspect, but get into the quantitative analysis of time relationship capital, and experience in order to effectuate a value justified business case, a quantifiable value, a simple equation of, hey, Mr. Meltzer, if I give you $20, will you give me $100 back? That's what I look for. And when I fly private with you and I fly private, it's an investment. It's not an expense. And I'm creative enough to find 6 different ways to make 10 to 20 times the money by flying private. And if I can't, then I'm going to go Southwest. I'm okay with it. But I can find a lot of opportunities, as you know, to fly private. And everyone's like, oh my God, Mr. Big Time. No, I'm making more money than you by investing in private aviation.
Love it. Perfect. You're hired.
All right. Deal. Bring me on commissions. Let's go.
Yes. Thanks so much for doing my show. I really appreciate it. I think our listeners are going to get so many lessons out of this. So I can't wait to have you back.
I will come back and we'll have you in my studio as well at the Wynn again. I know we're doing more and more together. And if anyone has any questions from a third-party objective private flight passenger, call me. I'll tell you if it's a good situation or not to make money by flying private.
Love it. How can they reach you?
Email me, and anyone in the community. I give my books for free. I pay for the book, pay for shipping, I sign them. Email me either way about private or my book, david@dmeltzer.com. Email me directly. I do have a time system. I answer them all myself, david@dmeltzer.com.
Love it. Thanks.
Thanks, Thea.